the exam, there are few things we have to concentrate. First one is confidence, because you should be confident that you will be able to crack that problem. നമ്മളെ ഒരിക്കലും നമ്മളെ കൊണ്ട് പറ്റില്ല എന്നുള്ളൊരു ചിന്ത നമുക്ക് ഒരിക്കലും പാടില്ല. അത് നമ്മൾ we should never keep that thought in our mind. Okay, and relax and don't panic. ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ കണ്ടാൽ നമ്മൾ ഒരിക്കലും പാനിക് ആവരുത്. നമുക്ക് വേണ്ടുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ അതിനുണ്ടാവും. അതെന്താണ്, അതിലെന്താണ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ഉള്ളത്, നമുക്ക് എന്താണ് അതിൽ നിന്ന് ക്രാക്ക് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്, എന്താണ് അതിന്, അത് മാത്രം നമ്മൾ അതിൽ നിന്ന് എക്സ്ട്രാക്ട് ചെയ്ത് എടുക്കുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ് അതിന്റെ നെക്സ്റ്റ് മെയിൻ പോയിന്റ്. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്കൊരു പ്രോബ്ലം ആയിട്ട് വരുമ്പോൾ ഞാൻ അതിനെ പറ്റി കുറച്ചുകൂടി പറയാം. പിന്നെ ചില ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് വളരെ സ്മാർട്ട് ആയിട്ട് നമ്മൾ അപ്രോച്ച് ചെയ്യണം. യു ഷുഡ് അപ്രോച്ച് ദി ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ വെരി സ്മാർട്ട്ലി, ബിക്കോസ് every question will be different. We cannot approach the same different question the same way. Some question needs some question for solving some questions you need thorough understanding of the concept and everything, the fundamentals, everything you should know. But in some cases you don't have to know the theory. Only thing is that if you think smartly, you can easily crack that question. That is I will show you some examples in such questions. Okay, then solve the easy question first. I don't know, means because I gave an offline exam, I haven't given the GATE in online exam. I have given some other question exams in online mode, but GATE I have never given in online mode. So still the fundamental is same, because we should solve the easy question first. നമുക്ക് ഏതാണോ ആദ്യം അറിയാവുന്നത് അത് നമ്മൾ വളരെ പെട്ടെന്ന് അതിലോട്ട് ചെയ്ത് അത് പിന്നെ നമുക്കിപ്പോൾ ഡൗട്ട്ഫുൾ ആയിട്ടില്ലെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന കോൺഫിഡൻസ് അല്ലാത്തത് അത് ഒരിക്കലും നമ്മൾ ഫസ്റ്റ് അറ്റംപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. ബിക്കോസ് വി ഷുഡ് സോൾവ് ദ ഫസ്റ്റ് ഈസി ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ. നമ്മൾ ഏതിലാണോ കംഫർട്ടബിൾ അത് ഫസ്റ്റ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ നമ്മൾ സോൾവ് ചെയ്യണം. പിന്നെയുള്ളത് നമ്മൾ എക്സസൈസ്, നമ്മൾ ഫസ്റ്റ് അറ്റംപ്റ്റിൽ നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല, അതിൽ ടൈം വേസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത് we should skip and we should go to the next question. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു വൺ റൗണ്ടിൽ നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നതൊക്കെ ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് പിന്നെ അടുത്ത റൗണ്ടിൽ നമുക്കിത് പകുതി ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും അല്ലെങ്കിൽ തീരെ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. അങ്ങനെയുള്ളത് അടുത്ത റൗണ്ട് ബൈ റൗണ്ട് നമുക്കത് ചെയ്യുന്നതായിരിക്കും നല്ലത്. പിന്നെ ഇപ്പോൾ ഓൺലൈൻ ഒക്കെ ആയതുകൊണ്ട് സ്കിപ്പ് ചെയ്യാനോ അതൊന്നും വലിയ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടൊന്നും ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. പിന്നെ വേറെ ഇപ്പോൾ in the GATE there is a section called aptitude. So in aptitude it's a very time consuming part. If you are good at aptitude, then you can do it. Otherwise it is a hell lot of time will take for this aptitude. You will think that I can clear, but I can crack it, but it will delay or means you will lose a lot of time. So be careful about that. If you are confident and you are practiced in the aptitude part, then you can do it very easily. Otherwise it will eat up a lot of time. Okay, then next point is the main point. Practice the problem as much as possible. There is no other options. Practice. How much you practice, that will be your speed. Because while reading, നമുക്ക് വായിക്കുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് തോന്നി ഇത് വളരെ സിമ്പിൾ ആണ്, നമുക്ക് കിട്ടി. പക്ഷെ നമ്മളത് എഴുതി പ്രാക്ടീസ് ചെയ്തില്ലെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് ഒരിക്കലും അത് ക്രാക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ല. So we should always practice. Even if it is a simple problem, you should practice. Otherwise there will be small mistakes, unit conversion, then decimals, lot of small issues will be there that will finally end up to wrong answer. Then old question paper. Nowadays all the old questions are available in internet here with the answer key. So you practice maximum old question paper. So from that you will get an idea from which area problems used to ask and which are the important portions and those kind of things. You will get a good idea about this from this old question papers. Then it's continuation to the last point. Dimension and hello sir बोलिए. सर मैं एक क्लास में हूँ सर, मैं आपको बाद में फोन करूँ? ओके sorry for the interruption. So coming to this point, dimension units. നമ്മൾ പഠിക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ഏറ്റവും ആദ്യം, even before touching to any other parts, you should focus on this part. means units and dimensions. All units and dimension we should have a clear idea. And the other same with the unit conversion. Unit conversion, these points are very important. And if this session is December, I think February or January last, we are all going to give the exam. There is no much time left. In that case, this is not visible, but in normally what you should do is while studying something, while you are learning some equations, you should always try to understand the concept by deriving that equation. If you derive an equation, then you will get an idea how this equation is formed and what are the theory behind it, and what are the factors affecting it. Because in the final equation, not many things may not be visible in the final equation, but during the derivation, you will understand how from where it has reached. So if you learn the derivation of the equation, you will get a clear idea. So that if there are some questions where they used to add some tricky part. If you practice in this way, you will be able to crack this tricky part. So if possible, do this, derive equations and understand the concept. And here I have mentioned few areas like transfer, heat transfer. I'm not going deep into the theory part. As you all know, heat transfer, there are main three mode of heat transfer: conduction, convection, and radiation. And in conduction, the governing equation is a Fourier's law, that is Q is equal to minus K delta T by delta X, where K is the thermal conductivity, K is the area of heat transfer, delta T is the temperature gradient, and delta X is the distance between this temperature transfer. So from this equation also, this is also a very important part. Every year question used to come from these portions. And conduction across, and this conduction can occurs in different shape of the materials like a slab, cylinder. The equations like for slab, Q is equal to same equation as we can use, but in the case of cylinder there is some difference, because in the case of slab the heat flowing area is same on both ends, but in the case of cylinder the area is different, the inside and outside areas are different. So we are taking here in this case, you can see the area is, instead of A in the slab, here it is K into AL. AL means logarithmic mean area. Here logarithmic mean area you can find out from this equation. Logarithmic mean area is equal to area outside area minus inside area divided by natural log of ratio of outside area by inside area. And same with the composite material. This is about the single individual material. In the case of composite materials, here in these slabs, you can see a different, these slabs are arranged together. Then heat is transferring from one side to another. And here you can see, here also, in this equation also, this Q is equal to K delta T. It can be rearranged into another form. It is an analogous to our Ohm's law. Same like resistance, current is material is giving resistance to the current flow. The same way for the heat transfer, this material is giving some resistance, and that resistance is given by this equation. See, here you can see these are resistance in the composite methods. Delta XB by KB by A. This is the resistance for individual part for KB, KC, but this is added together. And in the case of cylinder, the equation is a bit different. And QR is equal to T1 minus T3 natural log R2 by R1 divided by 2 by LK. Then, okay, that's all. Now, the importance of this session is while analyzing the of the last year question papers, I found that every year few questions used to come from this area, especially from the slab, composite slab, not from cylinder. They can ask from cylinder also, but they used to ask from slab, composite slab. See, this is a question from the same area. This is a question from the previous year's question, question number 24. Heat gain is occurring through a composite cold storage wall made of brick and polyurethane foam insulation. Thickness and thermal conductivity values thickness and thermal conductivity values are given, and if the exposed surface of the bricks and the insulation are 45 degree and 10 degrees centigrade respectively, the temperature of the interface of brick and insulation has to be found out. Here, what they are given is thickness, conductivity, thermal conductivity, uh, everything is given. This is a direct question. While you can see the solution. I just draw the schematic diagram. Here, this is our brick polyurethane form. This is triangle heating. The heat flow starts from here to here, and this is 45, and T3 is 10 degree. We have to find the interfacial temperature. Here the heat flow from this is a steady state heat transfer. Here the assumption is that it's understood that assumption heat transfer through both material is same. So Q is equal to K delta T by delta X. Here for the first phase K1 A into T2 minus T1 by X, that is equal to K2 A T2 minus 3 by X. So by equating this, we can find out the value of T2, because A both sides it will cancel out. Then K1 we know, K2 we know, T1 we know, T3 we know. Only unknown is T2. So from this you can find out T2. This T2 is coming as 41.5. From the answer key, it is given as in between 41.4 to 41.6. I'm taking a few second break. Please bear with me. Okay, sorry for the interruption. I got a call from the office. Okay, so here is a direct question. You are getting the answer, and this is another question in GATE 2021. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a question from 2018 GATE. Here see the questions. Convective film heat transfer coefficient H of air, thermal conductivity is given. We have to find out the the thermal conductivity is given, and we have to find out the H, that is convective film heat transfer coefficient. That is trapped in between two parallel glass panes in a window, distance 1 apart. Frankly speaking, I really don't know how it can be calculated. But as I said in the introduction, we can act smartly. We can solve some questions smartly. Here, what they have given is thermal conductivity is given, and they are asking us to find the heat transfer coefficient, that is H. And another term they have given is distance. So from the unit, and we know that to get this heat transfer coefficient, that is H, watt per meter square per Kelvin, this thermal conductivity has to be divided by this thickness. Then you will get the same unit. For getting H, the thermal conductivity is 0.025 watts per meter square per divided by this thickness. Here, only thing is you have to notice is be careful that the distance is millimeter here. You have to convert it into meter. Then by converting it, you will get the answer as 16.67. That is the same answer provided by the gate. Those who conducted the gate. I think IIT Madras or something they have conducted in the answer key also the same is the answer. So these kind of smart problem solving also required so that you can save the time and you don't have to worry about the this one theory. Even sometimes if you don't know the theory, you are good enough to solve this kind of problem with your command on this unit and dimensions. That's what I was mentioning in the first slide. Okay. Then here also, here in this is a question from 2013 GATE, agriculture engineering. The cold storage chamber is constructed with four materials, and that is 10 mm mortar, 200 mm brick, 100 mm insulation, and 5 mm wood board. And this thermal conductivity is also given 0.8, 1.5, 0.025, and 0.2 watt per meter per thousand respectively. And they are asking resistance of 4 Kelvin meter square per watt is offered by which material. So here also, as I said in the previous law, the resistance offered is equal to distance divided by the thermal conductivity. You just calculate this resistance for each four values, then you will get this insulation. Means this value 4 Kelvin meter square per watt for the insulation. So answer is insulation. Insulation is giving this resistance. So this is also a kind of, even if somebody doesn't know this theory, this theoretical concept, from him to him also, from this analysis he can directly get this value. That's what I mentioned, smart problem solving. And another one area is freezing time calculation. Freezing time can be calculated by different methods like Planck's equation, Farm's equation, and some other equation, Wells equation, etc. But normally questions used to come from Planck's equation. This is the Planck equation. Planck equation is TF, that is time to freeze, is equal to rho of LF divided by TF minus TA into P dash A divided by H plus R dash A square by K. Here, I already said you that if you have time, you should derive the equation before memorizing the equation. In every book, this Planck's equation derivation is given. In Planck's equation, this is the equation derived in 1923, around 110 years back. But here he have taken a lot of assumption before making this equation, and that is derived with that simple form of heat, sensible heat, and what to say, latent heat of fusion. From those things, this equation is derived. So here the terms are like rho f. Rho f is the density of the frozen material. LF is the change in latent heat of food, and the TF is the freezing temperature. TA is the temperature of the medium that is used for the freezing. Sometimes it will be plate temperature, air temperature, that you will get to know from these questions. And P and R are some constant. A is the thickness of the material. Thickness of material is for the case of slab, it is the thickness. In the case it is a cylindrical material, then the diameter will be this A. And if it is so, that is the values of A. And then H and K is the heat transfer coefficients. And these you have to memorize these values like these constants. For slab, this is 1/2. and R is 1 by 8, cylinder 1 by 4, this is 1 by 16, this is for sphere it is 1 by 6, and R is 1 by 24. Okay, this is many a times a question used to come from this area, which can be directly applied, means without direct substitution used to get some uh, the result. Sometimes you have to find out some values, like in this equation. This is a question from 2013. Okay. Here the question is a fish fillet of 5 mm thickness having 85% moisture. That basin is to be frozen using a plate freezer. The plates are at minus 35 degrees centigrade, and the heat transfer coefficient between the fillets and frozen plates can be assumed to be 2 watt per meter square per Kelvin. The initial freezing temperature of fish is minus 2.5 centigrade, and latent heat of fusion is 330 kilojoule per kilogram. The density of fish is 1100 kg per meter cube, and the conductivity is 1.5, and the time required to freeze the fillet from initial freezing temperature in hours is asked. So from this previous equation, we can find out this value. Only thing is that here one term, extra term, moisture content is came here, 85% moisture. See, once I already told you that you have to practice the question. See, what these question type of setters used to give is, they sometimes give some values, arbitrary values, or not arbitrary values, some values that may not have any role in this solution. Sometimes that will have some roles. In the case of this problem, this moisture content has relevance in this solving this problem. And what is that is, here I told you that the latent heat of food, LF is equal to change in latent heat of food. To find out the latent heat of food, what we have to do is, here what we have done is latent heat of fusion 330 is given. We have to take the latent heat of fusion of water only, because only water gets frozen in while freezing. So we have to no one second, आप भी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, मतलब अंदर आया, हाँ चल रहा है, कुछ है तो मैं बता दूंगा, पास कर दूंगा, sorry. So here LF is taken as moisture content. We have to multiply this latent heat of fusion with moisture content, that is 80.85. That is 85% is the moisture content, because moisture content only water is get frozen in the food content. Sometimes you can see that this is not given, moisture content is missing. In that case, whatever be the latent heat of fusion given, we can directly apply that. But in this case, you have to take the take account of the moisture content also. And these values, P and R values here, P is 1.1 by 2 and R is 1 by 8. Then this is the density and latent heat of, and one other thing, here they have given the latent heat of fusion in kilojoule per kilogram. That you have to convert it into joule, because otherwise you will not get it in the second, because finally what you are getting is T is in the term of kilojoule per watt. So you have to convert it into joule, then only you will get the final answer in second. And taken out of this point, that they are asking that freezing temperature in hours. So the answer you are getting is in second, and you have to convert it into hours by dividing by 3600. So these kind of minute things like this converting kilojoule into joule, then taking account of the moisture content and converting the second into hours, all those things are very crucial while solving the problem. So there lies the importance of practicing. Without practicing, you will never understand this difference, and even small difference can lead into big error. So practice maximum with the old question paper and questions given in the textbooks, everything. Then you will get a good command over this this question problem solving on particular areas. And another area I have selected is terminal velocity calculation. I have found a lot of questions in the last 5-10 years question paper. And one important thing is that beauty of this area is this is very simple, not like a freezing or heat transfer. With heat transfer freezing, that may some people may get confused sometimes. But this Stokes law is very simple, and this is direct. This equation is mu t is equal to d square g by 18 mu and rho p minus rho f, where mu t is the terminal velocity in meter per second and d is the particle diameter in meter, g is the acceleration due to gravity, and 8 mu is the dynamic viscosity. And here dynamic viscosity and rho p is the density of particle and rho f is the density of the fluid. Only thing you have to know, take a note of you have to concentrate in this session is they used to ask the same questions with different little bit twists, like they used to be here this viscosity is dynamic viscosity. There is two kind of viscosity, one is dynamic and kinematic viscosity. Dynamic viscosity is obtained by dividing the dynamic viscosity by density of the fluid. So sometimes instead of dynamic viscosity, what they will use, they will give the kinematic viscosity. And kinematic viscosity is unit is meter square per second. Then you have to convert that into this. Either you can convert. See, dynamic viscosity, I told you, dynamic viscosity by density is kinematic viscosity. So if you take kinematic viscosity here, then obviously that G will go upside. So you don't have to either you can omit this G, otherwise sorry D. Sorry. Nothing. You just I just got confused. The only thing is you have to divide it by density, and other thing is the units. Here in dynamic viscosity, SI unit is Pascal second, but usually they used to give the values in CP. CP means centipoise or otherwise poise. Centipoise is 1000 centipoise is equal to 1 Pascal second, or 1 poise is equal to zero point 0.1 Pascal second. So here also unit conversion is very important. You should be thorough with this conversion. Otherwise, you will get wrong answers. So Stokes law is very important. You have to concentrate. I will show you some examples of very simple questions like GATE 2015. Here a fat globule of 1.5 meter, the micrometer diameter is rising at a stagnant skim milk medium of 1005 kg per meter cube density, and viscosity is 1.5 cp. The density of fat globule is given, and they are asking for the velocity of the globule in micrometer per second. Here they have, as I said, density. Here the density is dynamic density only. The only thing is that they are given the unit in cp. So you have to convert this cp into Pascal second, because you have to convert it into this one SI unit. So for converting that, you have to multiply it by 10 raised to minus 3. Here this is not taken out of this. Then other thing is here they asked the unit of the final solution. Velocity of globule in micrometer per second. So you don't have to convert this micrometer, that is the diameter of particle, into meter. You can take the micrometer as such here. Okay. Then another thing, what I have done is I took this into micrometer. Okay. Then you direct conversion substitution, you will get the answer. And 18. This is the density difference. This is G. Everything is here. The answer you are getting as 0.075 micrometer per second. In the key, it was given as point in between 0.72 to 0.076. Then coming to another question. This is a question from 2013 case. Here also fat globule was 2 micrometer given, and density of the milk is given. Coefficient of viscosity is given in poise. Here see the unit of viscosity is poise, not centipoise or Pascal. It is in poise, and fat density is given. Here the question is the time needed to rise 10 mm for the fat globule in minutes. In this question, what we are getting velocity, but in this question they are asking for the time. So we know that from this Stokes law we can compute this, calculate this velocity, and they have given the distance, and so time is equal to distance by velocity. So here finding out the velocity, everything is in direct substitution. Only thing is that the poise, viscosity poise, 10 raised to minus 3 poise is equal to 10 raised to minus 3 into 10 raised to minus 1, because I told you that 1 poise is minus 0.1 Pascal second. So that conversion, you should be very careful while converting. And the velocity is obtained as 1.744 into 10 raised to minus 6 meter per second. From the this time distance 10 mm, convert that 10 mm into meter, then divide, then you will get to 5733.9 seconds. Then the answer is required in minutes divided by 60, then you will get the required answer, that is 95.5. Then in the same thing in 2016, they directly ask the unit. You don't have to do anything. The only thing is that you need to know the proper equation. The equation is asked. The answer is C. G into rho p minus rho L, and d square is Stevens, that is particle diameter only 18 mu L. So these kind of question also used to ask. This is a 1 mark question obviously, but you can without any within a fraction of a second you will get 1 mark. You won't have to spend any time here. Then in 2017, the same time, just direct substitution is required. Answer is 9.94 mm per second. Here also, here the viscosity is given in Pascal second. You don't have to change anything. See, I told you that sometimes the question paper set will give you some values which doesn't have any role in this solution. Here, see, in this solution, they have given temperature and the atmospheric pressure. Actually, for solving, you don't have to apply all those values anywhere in this equation. So those kind of things you will understand only when you know the equation very thoroughly. These were the questions I have took for the discussion, because I didn't want to take any very complicated solution here, because to my message is, and my message I would like to convey is how to handle a problem, how to approach a problem, all those things. I think you got some idea how you can approach a problem. And some of the very important area in the processing, food processing side is mass balance, milling, conveyors, storage, operators, heat exchangers, refrigerators, thermal processing, drying, etc. In this milling mass balance, you have to see the food in, food out. This is not very complicated thing. Only thing is you have to practice some questions, old questions and numericals. You will get to know the basics, and you will get a clear funda about this topic. And in the case of milling this for milling, conveyor, storage, 1 unit operation, agriculture processing by K.K. Singh and Sahai. That book is sufficient. You will get a lot of information from that book. For in the case of milling, different equations like Keats, Rittinger's, Bonds, those what they used to ask is, for these equations are different for coarse grinding, fine grinding, and intermediate grinding. Though if they are asking to find the coarse grinding, then you have to appropriately use the equations. And in the case of conveyors also, belt conveyor, screw conveyor, bucket elevators, these questions are also direct substitution only. It doesn't require any lot of theoretical knowledge. Even if you know a lot bit of this equation, you can solve the problems. Because of storage, there are some equations like Aries, Jensen, and Rankins. These equations depend upon the depth and the shallowness of the bin. If it is a deep bin, you have to use the Jensen equation. Otherwise, Aries, those kind of things. There also you have to simply put the equation into the values in the equation, you will get the answer. And only thing is that you have to take note of these units and coefficient of friction, everything, and evaporators, heat exchangers, refrigeration, thermal processing, drying. And in refrigeration, if you are not covering the refrigeration, if you don't even cover that, at least learn this COP value. What is COP? And those things are very simple. They used to ask a lot of questions from this area. In thermal processing, D value, F value. I think some of the in some class somebody might have covered this topic. In drying is most fundamental area of our agriculture and food engineers, because in drying it is the most common unit operation. Here we should be very thorough with this concept of dry basis and wet basis concept and how it has to be changed. Those things very simple but bit confusing. So you need to practice a lot for that. What is conversion of dry basis to wet basis, dry basis, and how much final product quantities. Those kind of lot of problems to ask. Then in heat exchanger is also very important area. Evaporators. These are some of the important areas you can uh, focus from this processing part for the ARS. If you for these areas, there are some good useful resources like books, Introduction to Food Engineering by R. Paul Singer and Dennis R. Hellman, and Transport Process and Unit Operation in Christine G. Coppix, then Unit Operation Food Industry, Food Processing by Earl and Earl. And for GATE, there is a book called Numerical Approach in Agricultural Engineering with Objective by Sanjay Kumar. This the last book is I followed this book because in this book a lot of solved questions are there. By following that, practicing that, you can get a good experience and good practice in problem solving. And the first three books, these are general books. In the for the introduction to food engineering, the art policy is a very good book. Things are very simply explained in this book. Even this art policy thing has a YouTube channel. There also he explained the things. You can use that in YouTube videos also. And in transport processing, it is for basically for a unit operation like evaporation, number of numerical examples are given in these books. Those kind of questions are used to ask in this GATE and all questions. The standard of the questions will be like almost like the question from these books. So these are the things I collected for discussing with you all. I think that's all from my side. We can have, if you have any doubts or something, we can have a discussion.